Hey, what's up, folks? Arctic here, and today I wanted to kind of do like a reflective video commentary, kind of have a little discussion here about how video games have shaped your life in some form or fashion, whether it's been inspiration or just changed your life, it led you down a different path. And I just kind of want to see the influence that video games may have had over your life in any way possible. So for me, I started gaming at a very, very young age. I think you guys remember I did a dual commentary with my mom, kind of talking about, when I was growing up, some of those things that, occurred. Played a lot competitively from the time I was like maybe probably like 10 or 11, somewhere around there, all the way up until, I was like 20 something years old. But what really changed for me is actually when I got into the competitive scene for Major League Gaming, and I started traveling to events. That's when things got really crazy to me, and that was in 2006. So it's been almost 8 years now since I've been traveling and competing in tournaments, and that's what really was like an eye-opener for me about what gaming could be, and the potential that it could impact my life. I remember vividly getting this opportunity to go to Treyarch back in 2006 after winning this tournament, and I got to meet and talk to some of the developers behind Black Ops to this day, but Call of Duty, right? Having the opportunity to talk to them, chat with them about the game, kind of changed, I think, the direction I wanted to take. But I was still very, very much so involved with competitive gaming, and I did that until basically 2010, when Gears of War was no longer on the circuit for Major League Gaming. And after that, I kind of was assessing what I wanted to do, because I still wanted to compete a little bit, but I was way more interested in changing the scope and shape and influence over a game, right? I wanted to be a part of that process. And so ultimately what ended up happening is I moved to Austin, Texas, because the area I was in at the time was Terre Haute, Indiana. There was nothing around me, right? Like I could go to Chicago, maybe. There might be some stuff in Indianapolis, but for the large majority of it, I mean, there's no game developers in the Midwest, and so I had to go south. And Austin actually has quite a few game studios down there, and it's an awesome city, just to be honest. And I wanted to get involved and get my foot in the door. And I never really thought about what I would do in games. While we were traveling and doing tournaments and stuff, I had actually had the opportunity to play test and add quite a bit of feedback into Nexus, which was a game that was released by Ilphonic Studio. It was kind of like a Quake or UT inspired game. I think it ran on the Crytek engine. Looked gorgeous. It was me and my teammates got to go out there and kind of get a part of the development process, and I kind of used that as a way for me to assess what it would be like to test games. And so when we moved to Austin, it was pretty much how I got my foot in the door. I kind of used that in addition to some of my experiences with either providing feedback about, from the competitive level in games like Gears of War or Nexus, for example, and, some of the things I've been doing on YouTube and other things like that, to kind of, put that down on my resume as part of, I have gaming experience. And so, Skyless and I were very focused on that. And I think that also had a big effect on my willingness to just jump into gaming. As I had a very good supporting cast around me, like Christy, Skyless, my teammates. They were all very much so involved from back when I was initially kind of thinking about it, talking about it with Skyless, to when we actually went out and did it. So I had the right number of people around me, and they were all very much so interested in games. And once I got into QA, it was just a matter of time before, you know, I started to get into things that I was actually capable of doing, which was community management. You know, QA is something I can do, and I've been trained on, and now I can do that anytime. But you know, community management I don't think is necessarily. I think it's one of those things where people assume that it's one thing, but it's actually not. So you know, I think there's a certain element of community engagement that some people have a knack for, some people have a stomach for, and some people might, you know, fake their way through it. But you know, it's definitely tasking, obviously, dealing with a community that is so vocal and passionate about you know, their games. So you know, at Edge of Reality, when I was working on Loadout from QA, we went to PAX East in 2012, and I had a number of people approach me just from Gears of War community, and you know, it was kind of like an eye opener to the people there, and they were like, "Oh, we didn't realize that you knew all these people and you maintained your own like community. Hey, you want to do community management for us?" I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty much how I got my foot in the door." And you know, from that point forward, I mean, I've kind of looked back and been like, wow, I mean, there was so much, like the writing was on the wall, right? Like, you know, doing YouTube stuff and being a part of the competitive scene, and all of those things have led me down this path where, you know, gaming has just been a part of my life. It's a part of who I am. And so obviously one of my dreams has been working at Epic Games, and that just kind of spawned from playing so much Unreal Tournament, Gears of War. I mean, I've probably purchased every single Epic Games game since I was you know, wrapped up in their community with Unreal Tournament. So, you know, the opportunity presented itself, and you know, now I'm at Epic Games doing what I love. So, you know, the journey for me has been, it hasn't been without, you know, some rough times for sure, but you know, I am passionate about video games. I'm passionate about you know, presenting the best possible product and personality, obviously, that I can about myself, and you know, the things that I'm associated with. And you know, this has just been one crazy ride. So I am very interested to kind of hear how gaming has either improved or inspired or shaped you know, what you do on a day-to-day basis. It could be anything, really. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be career changing or anything like that, but I would love to hear stories about how you guys have been influenced and inspired by gaming. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Please make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe if you have not already. And until the next time, I will catch you all later. Stay frosty.